start off, we're going to attack the toes. Ideally, we're going to really put a lot of the pressure on the big toe, if you can. One way you could do this is sitting back on your toes like this, trying to get maximal stretch on all the toes. Another way to do it would be like similar to like almost doing like a calf stretch type thing. Just place your big toe up on a wall or chair, or I mean, this ottoman would work well. I would just kind of slide to the very edge of this just so my big toe's going, and I would isolate the big toe. Just for the sake of trying to get through this a little quicker, we're going to do all the toes at the exact same time. But a really good option is on your own would be to do this exact Pales Rails series just on your big toe. So right now, go ahead, drop down to the knees, sit your heels back towards your butt, and kind of get those toes on stretch. We'll be here for 2 minutes. The big toe is really important for gait of walking, running, obviously sprinting, and change direction. If your big toe is super inflexible, everything up the kinetic chain is going to be altered, and you're not going to move as efficient as you should be. Your body will find compensation patterns to alter the way you move to work around the tightness of your big toe. So the big toe, very often overlooked, is a really important thing to attack. So we'll do the Pales Rails here in about 45 seconds. Another thing you can do is just take your shoes and socks off, and you can do this seated on the couch. It's gonna sound crazy, but whatever. This is valuable information. Grow up and do some weird things. So you would literally just like pretend like this is my foot. You could take the toes, big toe, pointer toe, push, pull them in opposite directions, hold it for a stretch, go in each direction, and work your way down the foot to stretch all your toes out. You can spread them out this way. And then after that, you take your, so this is my foot, this is my left hand, right foot. You come underneath the foot and you literally just try to wedge your feet, your fingers in between your toes to kind of spread them out and get a nice stretch that way. It's just like those finger, you can buy on Amazon for a few bucks to do that manually on yourself. So let's begin this Pales Rails. We're gonna push our toes into the ground this way. Think like almost like a calf raise of the toe. Ramp it on up to 40%. So just keep pushing a little bit harder and harder into the ground with those toes. Really think about driving through that big toe. 60%, we're doing both feet right now. Try to get the entire body tense. 80%, pushing even harder. It's gonna feel a little weird. And 100, greatest effort you can push into the floor as hard as you can. The rails will start in 5, and then I want you to try to pull the toes towards the top of your foot. Go. Pull the toes to your top of your foot. Keep pulling up. Think top of the foot. Think top of the foot. Halfway there. 3 more seconds. 2 more seconds. And relax. All right, so we'll be here for 30 seconds. And that will be it for our toes. And we'll move into our ankle next. For the ankle, we're going to go 1 foot at a time. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a wall, sturdy object like this. This could work well. If you feel like your foot's slipping, do a shoe. Put a shoe on, I should say. We want to make sure we have good traction on that object to get that nice calf stretch. All right, so for the ankle, I just mentioned the wall. We can obviously do the classic calf stretch on a wall in a standing position. Your other option, which with athletes that I've worked with, I've given them both, I've taught them both and let them decide which one they think is better, but would be just getting in this position. So keeping the heel on the ground and trying to get the knee as far forward past the toes as humanly possible. It's not gonna feel like a typical calf stretch, but we are mobilizing that ankle and working on dorsiflexion. So we would sit here. If you like this style, feel free to try it. Or if you don't have a good wall, here's your option. All right, we'll be here for 2 minutes. If not, stand up, put that foot up nice and tall on an object, and get that typical calf stretch. Both of them are fine. It's really a preference thing. I'm gonna go ahead and do this one. The clock is ticking. Really important that the knee is as far forward as you can. And what we're gonna do is you're gonna think on the Pales contraction coming up here in just over a minute. We'll be thinking calf raise into the ground. So I'm gonna be pushing my toes and ball my foot into the ground while maintaining the heel contact to the ground. The rails, after we flip it, I want you to think anterior tibialis and top of your foot, so front of your shin, top of your foot. And I want you to think about actively trying to use all this stuff to try to pull your knee forward, essentially improving your ankle dorsiflexion, which we're after here. So if you're one of those squatters that really struggles to keep their heels on the ground, or really have to take an excessive foot flare or wide stance approach, this is going to be a really good one for you. So let's start it up. 20%, push it down. Think like you're trying to smash a bug, squish a bug. 40, squishing a bug with the ball of the foot and toes. 60, keep the knee as far forward as you can. 80. And 100, go. As hard as you can. If there's a scale under your right foot, try to make the scale as heavy as you can, mainly under the ball of the foot and the toes though. And now try to lift it up. Pull your toes and the top of your foot towards your shin, but keep the knee forward. Keep trying to actively pull the knee forward. You should feel the front of your shin working. And relax. Keep that knee forward position. Keep the heel down. Good. All right, next thing we're gonna do, an object, anything. Can of soup, softball, lacrosse ball, whatever you got. If you got any object, remotes, find something. I've had kids do this with as high as softballs in the past. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do lift off and to hover over the object, and then placing it down nice and slow. So you're gonna lift up as high as you can, pivot off that heel, and slowly drop it down. There and back is 1. We're gonna do a set of 10 of these, 1 set. And playing with that shin angle, you're going to find it much different depending on what your shin's doing. Whether it's really far forward or a little bit more like mine. My ankle mobility is horrendous. This is my #1 need that I'm trying to fix. Make sure we're maximizing that dorsiflexion, really trying to pull the top of the foot as high up towards the shin as you can. More to go. If you're done, add some reps in. I want to get a lot of time under tension. So every activity, really, to be honest with you. Good. So you should have felt that right in the front of that shin and that anterior tibialis. All right, so next thing we're going to do is get into a 90-90 position, front legs out in front. We're going to lift the foot up as high as we can. If you can still lift up an object over an object, do so. We want to bring maximal plantar flexion. So like think biggest calf raise you can get there. Lift it up. Pull the top of the foot as close to the shin as you can. Place it down. Lift it up. You're going to feel a lot of this inside of the ankle. A little bit of calf when you're extending, top of the shin when you're pulling it up, working almost the entire ankle here. There and back is 1. We're doing 5. I ain't getting up over any object, maybe a pencil. But I'm trying to lift it constantly. I'm trying to take my ankle to the biggest range of motion that I can. So I'm lifting as high up as I can and then pulling my foot towards my shin as high as I can before placing it down. Lifting, calf raising up as high as I can, placing it down. Obviously this is going to be good ankle rehab or pre-ab for prevention. There and back is 1. We're doing 10. I've spoken way too many words to keep track, so I'm going to call that 10. If you're not done, obviously continue on. Now we're going to get to that left leg whenever you're done with your 10 reps. Same exact thing. Whatever style you did, do again here. So driving that knee as far forward as you can, keeping the heel down. Take note of any differences while you're doing this. Could you get the knee further forward on one side than the other? So this is great activity for any of those slant board squatters, or putting the 5 or 2.5 pound plates under your heels. If that's you, or needing Olympic weightlifting shoes to hit good depth, this is a great activity to hit up before you squat. While we're here in this 2-minute stretch, let's just try to, every once in a while, bob in and out of different areas. You try pushing your knee towards your big toe, your pinky toe. See if you feel any different tight spots or blocks in one area as opposed to the other. Want to improve the blocked off areas as best we can. Got to keep the heel down now. Ten seconds we start. And start pushing down, driving from the calf and Achilles. A bug underneath the ball of your foot. Squish it, 40. 60. 80. Grab the ground with your toes. Big breath in. 100. Go. And reverse it. Try to lift it up. Think top of the foot, front of the shin. Pull your knee further forward. Relax. Be here for 30 seconds. Again, whenever you're doing these flows, check in with your mobility before we start. Hit a deep squat. Do some various movements, lunges, split squats, whatever you like to do to kind of check in with how your body's feeling. Do that before we do this, and feel free to do it in between activities like this, or at the very end, or both. We'll go to the other lift off with hover, focusing purely really on that ankle dorsiflexion object if you got one. Knee forward is beneficial if you can do it. Mine is not very pretty. Try to stay strict. Torso and shin not going too far back. Could do the standing. I'm going to try the rest of my sit standing. 10 there and back. One more time down to that 90-90. So once you get your 10, that's a wrap. This is definitely a solid one to do prior to a lower body workout, front squatting, any really lower body activity, especially if you got tighter ankles. That's a weird one. Definitely probably the most weird one of these flows that we've done. Enjoy it. Hey, spread those toes out with your phalanges, huh?